Now, back to the Coca-Cola post-game locker room report.
And welcome back in. Lady Flames with a 65-52 victory over North Florida. Jamie Hall here with you on the broadcast, and we're now joined by Coach Carey Green. Coach, it was not easy. As a matter of fact, there were times when it seemed like that your team had the momentum on its side, and North Florida kept battling back, and that's just the character of their team. They're a good squad. We've seen that all season long. Even with Jazz Bond not in the lineup, they're never going to give up the fight, and that just tells you what Coach Gibbs is able to do to motivate that team without their top player. Just talk a little bit about their season that came to an end today. They were a foe that was hard to figure out.
North Florida, a very talented team. They had three players that actually shoot the three better than we do. Their entire team, and they did. They put up 35 threes, but the next opponent, Florida Gulf Coast, put up 50 last time we played. So it's good competition in preparation for a very talented number one seed, Florida Gulf Coast. But back to your question, Florida Gulf Coast North Florida has got a very talented and deep team. So I wasn't surprised with their talent, how they really played very well and just really dismantled North Alabama yesterday. And they're a hard matchup. They run good stuff. In fact, we run a lot of the same offenses. And, they're very difficult with their pick and roll, and their punch action is where they got a lot of their threes off. And, we just have to be very grateful and thankful that it was a hard-fought ball game, and we took care of business. And we're in that championship game like we were last year, and we're certainly blessed with that opportunity.
It seemed like the lineup kind of evolved a little bit as the game wore on. We saw Bridget, who played so well, you couldn't pull her off the court. She sort of stuck out there even when the line changes occurred. Dee Brown also kind of worked her way into being on the court in crunch time as well.
Yeah, again, we have good depth, and we felt like our post players really struggled. They didn't post up very strong and was being pushed around. I felt like I could go with Bridget and Emily at the same time, and both of them could shoot the three and take them off the dribble. And Bridget had a big game for us and stepped up like a good senior leader, and we're certainly grateful for her contributions. And she led us with 8 boards, was very active there, and was a second leading scorer with a double-double.
Stepping up at the right time of year. You can say that about Emily Lytle, too. Yesterday, what did she finish up with? She had 14 points yesterday, but it was a quiet 14, and she can do that. She can have a game where you go, Emily wasn't as active today, and you look down and she still had 12, 14, 15 points. Today, it was a loud effort for Emily, and she came out and was really the offensive catalyst for your squad, along with Bridget.
Yeah, Emily, if you'll reflect back last year, the first 2 games of the conference tournament, she was on fire, but very efficient, just like she was tonight. 5 for 8 on 3-pointers and 8 for 12. 70. Isn't that 75% from the field? And she made all of her free throws too. So let me do my math again. That's 66% from the field. So I'll take that, and on fire from 3-point range. So she was very, very efficient, effective, and chose her moments, and had some big ones at the end. And we finished that fourth quarter with it being our biggest quarter, too, scoring 21 points and knocking some free throws down at the end of the game. And, we need her to step up tomorrow and just be as efficient, and we'll be competing for a championship.
Kennedy Williams has also gotten herself into that starting role. And I know there were a few probably things that Kennedy would even like to have back, that little fumble into the backcourt and a couple of passes that went astray. But talk about miss excitement when she's out there on the court. There's going to be a no-look pass. There's going to be a bullet. It's, every once in a while there's a turnover, but there's an awful lot of dimes too.
Yeah, I think she leads our team in assist-turnover ratio, meaning that she certainly has more assists than she has turnover, takes good care of the ball. And, when you got a point guard like Alyssa or Ashton or Kennedy, you're really looking for that assist turnover to be on a positive side, and that engages everybody on the team when we start sharing the ball. And tonight she had 8 assists, and that led us in that area. And she just did an outstanding job tonight taking care of the ball and sharing the ball and getting everybody involved.
2 days from now, you're going to get another shot at Florida Gulf Coast. A year ago, that game was set. Everybody was ready to come back home for a day or so and then get on a flight to Fort Myers, and then the world shut down after that. Most of your team is pretty much intact. Certainly the nucleus, the core of this team was on that bus last year and planning to play that game. Florida Gulf Coast, though, is totally different as far as what they're going to throw at you compared to a season ago. But it took 360 some odd days in the making, but the matchup's going to happen.
Yeah, and we're certainly grateful, and we're prepared and certainly hungry for this opportunity, and it's going to happen on Sunday.
What about Florida Gulf Coast? What makes them so good? We saw them score points at will through most of the year, and then we've seen them have to play a couple of defensive games today, including, the shots weren't falling in for them, and they still were able to get a pretty healthy win. What was it, 59-44 against Lipscomb?
Yeah, well, they lead the nation in three-point field goal attempts. They lead the nation in three-point field goal made, and their transition, their offense probably averages 12 seconds. And they'll get down the floor and make penetrations and drives, and they'll take quick shots. And Morehouse sort of is a motor. That's a point guard, and she is hard to contain. She sort of sets everyone up. So they've got a very explosive offense. And their defense doesn't get the credit that they deserve. They're really positional, they're real physical, and can cause you to turn over the ball, and then they get their fast break going. And they really hustle back on defense as well. They're phenomenal in their defensive transition. I think teams on average about 5 points per game of transition on them, primarily because they'll take the deep three and they'll be running back. Now, they'll sneak in and get an offensive board every now and then that really crushes you. But, it's going to be a fast-paced game. We're going to need a lot of people involved. And, we just look forward to this opportunity.
We got Damian on the line as well from the News in Advance, and throw it over to him and see if he's got any questions to send your way before we get Emily in.
Yeah, Carey, looking at that first half after you guys shoot, 52%, you go to the third quarter and you miss your first 9 shots, but North Florida isn't able to seize control on that because your defense played really well in that quarter to offset the shooting. How big was that for you guys to weather that storm in the third quarter and be able to see some momentum there late to going into the fourth?
Damien, I think there's no question about that was the turning point of the game. We're playing for 40 minutes, but you're right. We shoot 20% that quarter, rushed our shots, and took some poor shots. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. You can't shoot a good percentage if you rush your shots and you take poor shots. Yet, the key is that we still played tough defense, even if we struggled on the offensive end, as we did, shooting 20%, they shot 21%. So all they did was make up 1 point in our 6-point lead, and we had a 5-point lead, and then we just dominated in the fourth quarter. But I think that fourth quarter defensive effort for everybody that was in the game was critical because we did struggle. And the win came down to that third quarter with our defense.
And looking ahead to Sunday, the sacrifices this group has made to get to this point to play FGCU again, what does it mean to this group to go through the uncertainty of the season with schedule being changed almost weekly in the ASUN to be at this point where you guys get a chance to play against FGCU in a game that never happened last year?
Yeah, I think those were on a team and returned. It's a dream come true. They got that opportunity. And I'm so proud of them because they finally get to reap the fruits of all their labor, and we're talking about from that disappointing time that I had to go in the locker room, or not locker room, but our film room, and just say, we're shut down. And they're all looking at me like I'm trying to tell a joke or something. And it was real, and there's some tears, and yet probably not 365 days, but we come full calendar year season, and we're back in that position. A lot of hard work, a lot of blood, sweat, and some tears, but they're grateful. I'm telling you, we get the fruits of our labor, and we're in a championship game, and one game away from going to the NCAA. So we're excited for that opportunity. Opportunity's got to come, and we've gotten that opportunity. We're excited.
Thank you.
Thank you, Damian.
All right, Coach, we appreciate your time. We'll let you switch seats with Emily here in just a moment. We'll get a chance to talk to our Thompson Brooks Insurance Player of the Game. Coach, we'll see you on Sunday.
All right. Thank you, Jamie.
As Coach Carey Green, Liberty with a 65-52 win over North Florida. We're going to get our Player of the Game now as Emily Lytle has a seat. And, Emily, I tell you, what's the old saying? Good things come to those who wait, and you guys had to wait a long time to get this chance to go back to the finals, and what a year. Could you have imagined? I remember I was thinking about this the other day, getting on the bus after that crazy win down at North Alabama. You had that emotional overtime basket, and the team was able to get the win. Everybody's excited on the bus, and there was some uncertainty already then. There was some weird stuff going on. Some things were starting to not completely shut down, but there were some rumors of things shutting down. Could you imagine from that moment until now what we all, including, not just sports, but just society, has gone through in the last year?
No, it's been crazy. Just the change of pace that everyone has to make, or that everyone had to make in the last year, and the change of lifestyle that, COVID-19 brought to everybody. It was crazy. I never imagined that it could change so much.
Yeah, and the most basic things now. You have to think twice about everything that we do in life, whether it's going to the grocery store or whether it's can we go visit our grandparents, and whether that's the smart thing to do at Christmas time. There's just so many things that have changed.
Definitely. Getting those extra steps in when you forget your mask. Got to go back to the car. It's just so easy.
I've hid a mask everywhere I can think, and I say hid. I've put there's an extra mask in the car. Every jacket pocket's got a mask in. I was like, okay, I'm gonna give myself as little chance of failure as possible. That's about the only way I can survive. But yeah, you're right. There's just so many little differences between now and then. But ultimately, Lord willing, no tests come in, no problems come in between now and Sunday. You guys are getting that matchup with Florida Gulf Coast that you didn't get a year ago. What's it going to take to have a different outcome against the Eagles on Sunday than what we saw a week ago when you guys were down in Fort Myers?
I think it's going to take a lot. I think we do well when our bench has energy, and it kind of rubs off on us on the court. So I think if we can match Florida Gulf Coast's energy. They have a lot. So if we could match that, then I think we'll be in good shape.
We saw them today play kind of a defensive game, struggle, low scoring. They didn't shoot the ball well, and they still got a win. And Coach talked about how they're an underrated defensive team. What is it about them on the defensive end that's able to turn teams over and force tough shots?
It's the pressure. A lot of teams in our conference, they don't really push up on players, but Florida Gulf Coast, they like to get in your space and really, push up on you. So I think they're about the only team that does that in our conference. And our teams aren't really used to that, the other teams. So it just kind of I don't know. I don't want to say it changes the game, but it kind of adds a little bit more.
Well, when they're getting up in your personal space, say, hey, wait a minute, 6 feet. What's going on here? Social distancing. What are you trying to pull?
Right.
I don't know if the officials are going to buy that or not, but it should be fun. I don't want to jump past this game. We really haven't talked about what happened tonight, and this was a great game tonight and a great effort against a North Florida team that you guys had lost a couple times to in the regular season. So let's go back to that question. What were you able to do tonight that was different than the 2 times that you were playing them in Jacksonville?
I think it goes back to the energy. Our team was able to bring the energy from the start, came out flat a little bit the second half, but I think we were able to pick that back up.
It's interesting. We saw those line changes where it was 5 starters and 5 subs come in, and sometimes who was in the starting lineup and who was in the 5 has changed a little bit. Players have kind of come and gone a little bit in that, but for the most part, kind of the core has been the same all year long. But late in the game, that got mixed up. In a good way, because Dee was playing well. Coach left her on the court. Bridget was playing well. All of a sudden, she's playing the 5. Having that flexibility, and you look over, and you're used to seeing Maya and Bella, but now all of a sudden Bridget's at the 5. What was your thought process during that time on the court?
Well, first I want to say that the coaches were good in making in-game adjustments like that. But, I've been playing with those girls for so long that it wasn't really that much of a difference, practices all year and past years with the upperclassmen. So it wasn't that much of a difference for me, at least.
Coach kind of joked during pregame that he wished that you guys could play 10 on 10. He says he thinks if he could play all 10 players at a time that he'd have a big-time advantage. It might be a little crowded out on the basketball court, but you guys got a second team that would be starters in a lot of places, so that's always a good problem to have. I know sometimes you wish there were 2 basketballs. I'm gonna hit you with one more question before we let Damian jump in and ask some of his. I know with COVID it's changed the amount of fans, and I'm not sure, was any of your family able to come to the game? And for those that, I know you got a big family, everybody loves basketball, I'm sure everybody couldn't quite make it there. Does that mean your texts get blown up even more afterwards?
Oh yeah, after my games, my family group chat, it's 50+ messages, and I'm like, oh gosh, but it's all support, so I love that about them.
That's awesome. Well, Emily, Damian's on the line. He's going to ask you a couple questions, but congratulations on a great game today, and we'll follow you guys on Sunday as you try to get that title.
All right. Thank you, Jamie.
Emily, that 5th 3 that you hit there from the right wing, you were pretty ecstatic after that one. Did you know that was the one that kind of put the nail in the coffin and sent you guys to Sunday?
I wasn't sure, but I knew it would lead to that moment. You can't really assume the game's over until the clock runs out.
You mentioned the energy to start out, 3 of 4 from 3 to start the game. You guys, 62 points in the paint against Bellarmine, and you guys were hitting them with threes. Was it something from what you remember playing UNF about a month ago that you knew you could get some shots going from beyond the arc and get going that way instead of trying to pound it inside?
Yeah, it was a little bit of that. I kind of knew how the posts were playing the defense, and I knew that if I just stepped out, I could get the shots. And my teammates did a phenomenal job in finding me out on the perimeter.
Ask Coach Green this. The third quarter, you guys missed your first 9 shots. I think shot 3 of 13 from the field in that frame, but you never let North Florida get going offensively. How key was that during that frame when the shots aren't falling? You guys aren't in sync as you were in the first half to play solid defense and go into the fourth quarter with that run that you and D got going there to seal the win there over the final 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think defense is big time. You're not going to be hitting shots all the time on offense. Offense can be on and off, but your defense, you can always bring your defense. That's something you can always rely on.
Jamie asked this earlier, and this will be my last question, but from remembering what that feeling was like in the film room last year, being told the championship game was being canceled and working and going through all the COVID protocols, living in the bubble to get back to this moment, what's it going to be like Sunday when you guys get a chance to play FGCU in the title game after having it taken away last year?
Oh, man. When Coach told us last year that we weren't going to have a game, we were all kind of just like, is he serious, or is he playing a joke on us, or, this can't be happening. But it was hard. It was hard for a lot of us. And I think that kind of fueled us to get us to where we are now, to play the championship game on Sunday. And so, we'll just rest up tomorrow and be ready for it.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
That was Emily Lytle and the Lady Flames with their 65-52 win over North Florida, now advanced to the championship game of the ASUN tournament. That'll be on Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock against Florida Gulf Coast.